Wonderful. Thank you for having me here. It's been really wonderful to hear all the work you're doing. Again, I'm with Global Fishing Watch. We're a nonprofit that works at mapping out where the global fishing is taking place. And I'll explain a bit more about what that means in a moment. But first, I thought I'd put some numbers. These are numbers that we all probably have some idea about. But a lot of people consume fish as their primary protein source, and yet our fisheries are doing rather poorly. And economically, this is hugely important, right? Even over half of fish trade comes from developing nations, and it's a massive industry. But I'm a person who thinks about these things in pictures. And so what does that look like if we look at pictures? And what that looks like is this. This is the scale at which we're thinking about commercial fishing. And what you think about here is that this is what we can see from shore. But what happens when we go offshore? What happens when these vessels go up across the horizon? And how are we supposed to sustainably manage this kind of a fishery? But what's also important to keep in mind is that this is, there's hope. We have hope because there's more data than was ever available now. And there's more computing power to process that data and to think about understandings and insights. And so what does that look like? And what that looks like is this. This is Global Fishing Watch's website. This is a publicly available, open-facing, open-source map that's demonstrating where in the ocean commercial fishing is taking place. And what you see here is each one of these points is a place where our algorithms are predicting that fishing is occurring. And you can see it, there's patterns across the globe and in different regions that you might be interested in. How are we doing that? Well, we're taking this is a vessel, this is a longler. And what this longler is doing is each of those pockets where it's in one place, it's fishing. It's laying out its long lines and then retrieving them and catching fish. And so what we're doing and what we put on the map is that each one of those points on that previous map is a place where we see a vessel fishing. And what you can do with that is then you can overlay where different countries are fishing, where different gear types are fishing, where all these processes are happening. You can see here in purple, Australia, flagged vessels fishing within the EEZ, vessels from Japan, Taiwan. We could put anything on here and map this out. So the thing to go from here, the idea that I want to talk about now is that we can do that, but what does that then mean? What does it mean for sustainability? What does this transparency mean for sustainability? And I think what it represents is a pan-national transparency challenge. This is not something that can be done simply at one nation, but globally. And the way I'm going to illustrate that is following one vessel, that particular vessel there, which is the Fuan Yu Ling 999, recently in the news in the past month. This is a refrigerated cargo vessel that retrieves fish from fishing vessels and then carries it into port. And what we're going to do is we're going to track this vessel. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. It's going to come out of China over there on the far side, and it's going to go down towards Australia. And hopefully we can follow its path. And it goes here and meets with vessels in Timor-Leste in February. It goes over here in March of this year. It meets with vessels that are fishing in an unregulated region of the Indian Ocean. Then we have these vessels. These are fishing vessels in April that they head off across the Pacific, and they start fishing over there. And the same vessel that I showed you, it comes back out, goes to Timor-Leste again in June, and it goes back into China. And then it takes this path, as you can see, all the way across the Pacific. And it meets here in August with these fishing vessels before going into the Galapagos and being arrested for having on board tons of shark. But what you see here is that it was arrested here. And so maybe this is the Galapagos issue. Maybe this is the Eastern Pacific issue. But no, it was also in Timor-Leste. And it was also in this area of Northwest Indian Ocean. And this vessel is integrated across this entire region. So though it was caught with thousands of sharks on board, illegal hulls, and was fined $5.9 million, and the captain was given 4 years in prison. What really I want to stress about this is not the IUU, the illegal action of this, but actually the unregulated region. That it was also meeting with vessels that are operating in this Northwest Indian Ocean, where there's fishing on squid. Squid is not part of the IOTC, the International Organization on Indian Ocean Tuna Commission. And so in this region, fisheries are unregulated. It was also interacting with those vessels in Timor-Leste, where just last week there was this Chinese fishing boats were found with thousands of sharks on board. This is where I say this is a transnational challenge. What do we do to confront this challenge for sustainability? And what we'd argue at Global Fishing Watch is that what you need is transparency. What you see here is in the blue is our traditional data. This is AIS data. This is data from vessels movement tracking. But what you see in orange is VMS data, proprietary data released by Indonesia. The Indonesian government has released this and placed it on Global Fishing Watch's website. So now it's publicly available and transparent. You can see where all Indonesian flagged vessels are fishing. And this was released at the UN this year in June. And just last week, Peru has pledged and signed a memorandum of understanding to release their data. And so now we have 2 of the top 4 nations, fishing nations in the world, placing their data, their proprietary national data, in a public-facing forum. This is Minister Susi has pledged, has challenged that this is an international problem, that sustainable fisheries are an international problem. Canada requires cooperation between countries. We're in a new era of transparency. And just last week again, Peru became the 2nd country to share information about their commercial fishing fleets in this public-facing platform. And so really what I wanted to come and talk to you about is that how are we going to address sustainability? And the way we're going to address it is through transparency. We have this free and open platform fostering greater ocean sustainability in our commercial fisheries. And we have a trend of now 2 nations willing to release their data. And the challenge is, what are we going to do next? Thank you.